You've come to a Qigong demonstration, and I'll introduce Lori Larson very shortly. She is I believe, almost a 30-year practitioner of transcendental meditation. She is a practitioner of the Seneca.
I'm a member of the Seneca Wolf Clan, it's a teaching clan.
A member of the Seneca Wolf Clan, and basically her talk today will be on Qigong and health and longevity. And I'd just like to throw a couple of notes out first and sort of explain how this came to me. My name is Ed Jackson. I'm a 35-year practitioner of martial arts, yoga, shiatsu massage, and many years ago, probably 30 years ago, I had heard about Qigong and some of the things that they do in the Shaolin temples, and I thought, oh gee, you know, I'll never be able to get to China and be allowed into the temples to learn some of these amazing things. Oh well, but of course we should never doubt the universe that we're in, and I went to a demonstration just like some of you have come back in the late 90s, and I got there a couple minutes late, and so I tried to sneak in the back, and I sat down and I looked at what they were saying and what they were doing, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're doing it, this is it. And then I had a chance to go up and actually punch one of the students in the stomach to feel his energy, and he was a very slim man, and I thought, oh gee, I don't want to hurt this guy. And so at first I punched him very lightly, and I could feel his energy come out and protect him from my hand. And I thought, that's strange. So I said, let me crank up the energy a little bit. So I hit him a little harder, and it happened again. So let me go a little harder, and I hit him harder, and it felt like his energy actually was cutting into my hand and protecting his body. And I immediately took my hand out and thought, no, I know what I need to know. The demonstration is complete. And I signed up and I began this training of vibrating the body. What we're going to do is Lori will come up. She'll speak for probably 45 minutes, and then there will probably be a demonstration period. And then there will be question and answers, and probably there will be points where you can ask questions and answer during the process and before the demo and after the demo. A few other points, the things that I believe I've received from this training is my karate, my martial arts, the massage that I do is so much easier now because it seems I have more energy to give out in my hands, or more energy that can protect me. And I believe my metabolism has changed greatly, and for the better. And I believe that I've actually wound chronologically my age backwards in time. And now many of my people say that, many of my friends say that I was immature, but I think it's good to stay young and feel young. So without me chattering on anymore.
How young are you?
Oh, that's right. I will be 60 in the summertime. And I still feel like I'm 22. So without further babbling, I'd like to introduce Lori Larson. She is the instructor of Kaishan Qigong in the Michigan area, and she'll be speaking, and so she'll come right over, and I'm really glad to bring her up, and thank you very much.
Maybe I'll start with how I came upon this. I had two friends. We had a massage group. It was something called iPress, where we'd work on in groups. You can do it in groups with clothes on. We were working on each other once a week for years. And I noticed too started changing, because I used to feel like I was always healing them while I was working on them, and then thinking, oh, they're getting, something's changed. I'm not having to do that anymore. And they were always talking about this guy named Ed. And I'm like, who is this Ed guy? Well, they had started doing this training, and one of their wives, the husband had convinced her to start, so she told me I had to start. And Larry had wanted another baby at that point, and I had my first baby at 40, and I was pretty worn out. And so I thought, oh God, I can't do that. She goes, no, it'll help you have the energy to do that. So that's why I started, and I definitely feel like I have the energy now. I could have another baby, but at 10 years later, 11 years later, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. So it worked. And I really have been doing a lot of different things with my life, different jobs. Seems like I could do whatever I put my mind to, but none of it really caught my passion until I started learning this, and I was asked to assist the teacher and told I could learn to teach this, and that ignited me. So it's, I've been coming here for 4 years, been a really rewarding experience for me. So anybody who's interested in learning, it's like a gift to me to be able to share this. I feel like it's something I can share with others that will help them if you know, if you feel it resonates with you too. So that's my story. This training was brought to the United States by a gentleman from China about, I would guess, 12. He came here about 12 to 15 years ago, and he found one person he thought he could teach it to. And he started teaching that person, and that's my teacher in that. He started this organization called Kaishan, Institute of Natural Health. It was a training in China that was held secret by the martial artists. It was actually originally used by the Buddhist monks because they were sitting long periods of time meditating, and they found that their bodies were wearing out before they would get to the point of their spiritual development that they were looking to achieve. So this was brought supposedly by Bodhidharma to these Buddhist monks to help them strengthen their bodies so they could get spiritually to the levels they wanted to get. And what it does, Qigong, literally, there's a lot of translations with the Chinese, is energy work. So it's work on the energy body, work with the energy body. We learn to conserve our energy, convert the physical to grow the energy body, and collect. I teach you techniques to collect your energy so you're not, and I teach you how you're leaking it. So you're not constantly leaking without pulling back or leaking without growing more. And it's great for the organ system because as we do the training, it starts feeding energy into the various organs on the abdominal level, which is the level I like to start people on. Unless they have some problem with that, we can also start on arms or legs. It feeds energy mainly to the liver and spleen, two very important organs, to help purify and energize and heal whatever's going on in those organs. And in fact, a fellow instructor friend of mine went, she's the same age as I am, went to have a physical, and they were a little surprised because all her organs were a size that they thought was bigger than somebody her age should have. So they hadn't started to shrink. And that's the value of this training. It keeps the root of your system, which in one way is your organs on a physical level, very lively and healthy, purified, strong, full of energy. In China, it was used after the Buddhist monks. Somehow the certain group of martial artists caught on to it. So they started doing this training to enhance their martial arts, because with a stronger energy body, as we'll demonstrate later, your energy protects you. So if you're in combat, you see Jackie Chan does his own stunts. He has a highly developed chi body. So that's why he can do those things, because his chi is protecting him. So it was kept secret by the martial artists. They didn't want to share this, very competitive group. But when it was brought to the U.S., the man who brought it was told he could teach it in the U.S. for health and longevity reasons. So we don't teach any of the martial art applications. That's if you're a martial artist, you can learn those on your own. What we do is develop a strong energy body for health and longevity. One of the side effects is it also, as you vibrate, we use vibration, visualizations, meditative movement, and herbs. In the golden shield level, the abdomen level, there's not a lot of herbs. There's an external you rub on, and one herb you take when you're ready to go to the next level, when you're done. So there's not a lot of herbs on that level. So we use those, mainly three: visualization, vibration, and physical practice. That can include meditative movement and herbs. So it's more than just vibration, but it's the one people notice the most. It's not necessarily the most important, but it's the one people notice the most. What can happen as you vibrate the body, often memories or traumas are stored in the tissue, because at the time they happen, you're not prepared to deal with them for whatever reasons. You're not strong enough, whatever. So they're held in the body, can cause blockages in your energy flow that later in life cause health problems. So as we vibrate and grow the body, what can happen is emotional toxins that have been being held that may have become chemical toxins. You don't even realize the emotional component anymore. You may not have been aware of it consciously. Start to vibrate out. So it's a very profound healing modality. And I liked it because it was fairly easy, especially Golden Shield, because you're just tapping the abdomen, and then as it gets strong enough, you might be, hitting a little stronger, and then eventually you've got a wood block and a brick, and then you have a partner. And in the practice, you do need a partner. You can often find it in the class to help you get high enough so you're done. Because you end up getting so developed, you can't, not muscle-wise, for that you need to exercise, but energy-wise, that you can't grow anymore without somebody else's help. And so we'll show some of that today, some of the higher, once you get to a certain point. But it's amazing, on Golden Shield, the abdominal level, you will be as strong as what I'm going to demonstrate today in anywhere from 7 months to a year, depending on where you start physiologically. The longest I've ever seen anybody go through was a woman who, it took her 2 years. And she would stop for a while, she'd go through some detox, and then she'd come back and continue. You hold the abdominal level pretty well, because this is your point of origin through the navel. You were fed through your mother, you started from here. This area, the cells here, hold signal really well. They hold the energy, they hold the development really well. So she would come back, but what her story is she had one leg slightly longer than the other, and she was in her late 40s or early 50s, and it had always been off, and nobody could seem to heal it. By the time she was done with Golden Shield, they were even. So for her, it was miraculous. Can't promise that to everybody, and how everybody goes through is very differently. Who knows what your body's storing, what it needs to do to heal. For me, Golden Shield level was pretty, it had a couple emotional, I tended to be more emotional. I needed to release more emotional things than physical things. So there was one level that I got a little emotional, but I won't say it's in totally effortless, comfortable ride. You know, you go through your stuff. Now, if you're real healthy and don't have much of that, it may be a real effortless, comfortable ride. I don't know. It's different for everybody. But to me, it was extremely rewarding. I feel like I'm more emotionally stable, more confident, more healthy than I've ever been, even as a child. So it's interesting. Feel free to ask questions as we go. I know it can get boring if I just talk on and on. So if you have a question or current students have something they want to add, you're welcome to do that.
What did you mean when you said she would stop and get detoxed?
Well, for example, it can happen many ways. You reach a level where you've vibrated something out, plus you've developed a certain amount of strength. So your body now has the energy to deal with whatever was held or with whatever was being held in the body. So at that point, she either just didn't want to practice, or she didn't feel well enough to practice. You can detox, and so she just didn't feel well. I don't know exactly what her symptoms were, or she just started moving. Her hips started moving, and while that was happening, she didn't have the energy to do more vibration. She had to let that process go through its whatever it needed to do, and then she, for some reason, she stuck with it. Many people will just drop, and I never see them again. But she kept coming back, and she sealed and finished the level. So it manifests differently with everybody.
You want to mention bone density?
Bone density is good. This training, because it's vibrating the body, they did a study with children in Vancouver schools where every time the bell rang, you know, in between classes, they had a control group just sit, half of the class, and the other half of the class had to jump up and down for, I forget how many minutes, something like 2 to 5 minutes, or 8, I can't remember. They just had to jump up and down. So that's vibrating the body. And as, you know, you're jumping, the bones are flexing, the body's vibrating. They found at the end of the year the bone density was better in the children. You know, they measured them before and after. The growth was more in the children doing the vibration as those who weren't. Also, they did a study with sheep. Same thing. They had this floor that would vibrate, and they found it helped strengthen their hip bones. So this training, especially for some reason, the hand level and the head level, which is usually the last level you do after you've developed out the energy body enough before you do the head, grow the bone density. When I did head training, I gained 20 pounds, but all my clothes still fit. And it was I was growing out my bone density, and you'll see, that has a bat here somewhere. I can take a blow to the ribs with a bat, and it's no problem. I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not going to let them hit me as hard as they can, maybe work up to it or something, but we'll just see. I haven't tested my chi in a while, but it does help bone density growth. I broke my foot 2.5 weeks ago by not paying. Mind was out of the body. Ideally, I tried to teach everybody to keep the mind. And I was running fast, caught my bare foot on a foam cord, and rammed it into a file cabinet, then they took x-rays, and usually my friends at my age, they're dealing with osteoporosis. They said, oh, your bone density's good, you just had an impact blow on these 2 toes. So the bone density looked good. The bones were all real white, bright. And I had a student, my neck was a little out, and they said, oh, we have this great chiropractor, he does that Atlas adjustment with the machine. They wanted me to go to him, so I went. And they took a body scan of my x-ray. And I'm going, oh God, I'm letting people hit me with bats, and I'm ramming my head and breaking my tiles on my head. And my students here, I don't know what my bones are going to look like. I mean, I've been hearing the theory for years and stories about people's bones. And the doctor came in, he had my x-rays, and he goes, you're a real character, aren't you? And I'm like, I don't know. He says, I bet you're never sick a day in your life. And I'm thinking, well, not much lately. He says, I've only seen one other spine as healthy as yours, because the bones were all very white, nice spacing, no arthritis. Skull was bright white, so there was a lot of chi in my bones. So he was very happy with it, and I was like, because I had no idea. I mean, now I feel better than I used to feel, but I hadn't had any proof of it. So that was another sign that it's really good for the bones.
Laura, you said you were sick as a child. Didn't you?
I wasn't so much sick as I was very skinny and frail. Kind of, my aunts are always, we need to feed her more, she's too skinny. It's just, and even to travel here to Michigan, because we live in Iowa, where I moved years ago to be part of this group that meditates for peace and the Tian movement, which is great. But it's a long ways from where I grew up and all my family is. So we would drive here once or twice, 3 times a year to see the family on the holidays. And I'll tell you, the trip really took a lot out of me. And sometimes we'd have to take 2 days, which would aggravate Larry because he's very strong. But now I do it twice a month. I drive by myself. I just enjoy the trip, and I don't feel like it's depleted me. Sometimes I feel like it's energized me to get away from everything and just be quiet in the car for 9 hours straight, So those are some good things. Any questions? So it's basically being taught now in the U.S. for about 10 years. Not a real big group. Probably, I don't know, maybe 500 people have learned it. Various stages. A lot of people have started and dropped. If you add that, it'd be probably a couple thousand. But I found it very rewarding and profoundly quick at the evolution that happens. Go ahead.
How has this impacted your meditation?
Well, the thing with I do the advanced cities. Are you part of the team?
Yeah, I understand what the city program is.
Yeah, so I've done the city since '81, and in the domes, flying around, whatever. And I haven't done it much in the last few years. I just have a different focus. I feel like I did my time for world peace. Now I'm on to other things, but I used to, and my family even said, I had to get my meditations, my 2 meditations in twice a day, or I was like a wreck. If I didn't get that time, the 20 minutes or that hour when you do these cities, I was a wreck. I mean, it really did give me a deep rest and some glimpses into higher levels of consciousness, witnessing cosmic consciousness, things like that. It's a very good program. I highly recommend it. But once I started this training, I noticed I was strong enough that if I missed, of course, Tian movement wasn't like this, but if I missed a meditation, I was fine. I wasn't addicted to that rest every day. I could function with or without it. And when I got to the higher levels of this, I started witnessing quite a bit, cosmic consciousness level, for extended periods of time. And every once in a while I get a glimpse into GC. If you know, these are TM terms. Unity. I've had some profound experiences doing this training. So I think for me, I've always been spiritually oriented more than materially oriented. But it's also helped me integrate into a material life, where before it was a little hard for me. I was always a little awkward and too sensitive and ready to cry at the drop of a hat. And now I'm more, I can live in the world and function and not be such a basket case. And plus my body's stronger, and I'm having the experiences I was looking for with my TM, which I think brought me to be able to do this practice. And I still do it, but not so much as I used to.
Do what?
The TM.
Oh,
Yeah. I just don't, I'm more involved in living life. So, and I have the energy to do it. So that's how it's affected mine. I have many friends that are in the higher levels who are still religiously doing the twice a day in the domes. But for me it was like, didn't happen that way.
Could you speak of the trees in the hollow dome?
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you, because just sit here and be quiet. Have everybody's attention. Okay, so how vibration can help the physiology. What we're doing, a lot of this training is horizontal vibration on the body. Normally you get physical vibration by walking or jumping or whatever you do. Very little horizontal vibration on the body. And they did a study, if you want to compare yourself to a plant, of the trees in the ecosphere, the hollow, what it was, biosphere. There's a biosphere, and they were trying to grow things in it to see how that worked. The trees, they found, would grow very quickly and then fall over and die, because it was no wind in the biosphere, so they would not develop their roots out the way they needed to go. They didn't have the stress of the wind to help them develop. So now they have wind and little machines that tap the plants, and they grow much better. I think there was a study on tomatoes where if you shake your tomato plant or something, it grows better. So it's all about horizontal vibration. And a lot of this training is horizontal. Like I said, we start out, how often do you tap this area of the body? It just starts out like that. But that vibration is powerful, because what the body hears is, oh, this is different. I need to grow stronger. The body has tremendous abilities. You hear of people, I have a friend who grew, his heart had a defect, grew something else of the vessel so it could still function. The body has tremendous abilities. We rarely hear of it. But what this training does is it demands, it stresses the body. We stress the body a little at a time, not a lot. We don't start off hitting you with bats, just a little, just enough so the body gets the message and it goes, oh, I need to be stronger. So then it'll convert solid essence to a more refined essence. In Chinese, Jing to Qi. So we take a subtler solid essence of the body, usually the sexual essence, because that is something we're always using and replenishing. We convert it to Qi, finer level, and because of the area we're stressing, it feeds the liver, it feeds the spleen, it feeds the intestines, whatever's in here, feeds that area of the body, and they get bigger, they get stronger, they hold more Qi. So after a while, you have so much qi in the organs, it's like they can't hold it. So they dump it into your meridian system. So what happens is the meridian system starts to become wider. So say you're a house and you're wired with 110 wire carrying capacity. Well, this training is like rewiring your body. Soon you can carry 220, 440. You start developing your meridian system because of this dumping of the qi into the meridian system to hold more energy. So some people do spiritual practices that they channel in all kinds of energy and they end up frying their system. We don't do that. We develop out the wiring system so you can hold more energy. And then we keep building the energy. So it's a fascinating process. How do we prove this? Well, the master who brought this here was, bear with me, the students who already heard this today, was on a 10-man team that would fly to Seattle, sponsored by the government every month, to try and prove that there were meridian systems. And I think they spent months trying to prove the meridian systems on a scientific kind of, that something the medical profession or whoever would believe. They couldn't prove that they didn't exist. They couldn't prove that they did exist. But one thing on leg training, you eventually break tiles on your thighs. This is the hardest area to kind of shoot qi horizontally because there's a lot of tissue here. Shoots easiest from the bone, so the head's pretty easy once you get there.
Plus this is a horizontal.
Yeah, and so you're trying to fire your qi. You're learning to fire your qi. Firing your qi demands that the body grow more qi. So in this training, I'm going to sidetrack a second. You're not, when I say you use a brick or whatever, you're not being hit. It looks like it. What you're doing is you're using your qi to hit the brick. That's the right way to practice. It's called you always want to win. So we never move you to, I watch you, I don't move you to a level unless I think your qi is there and you're ready. So I have to come in and watch you practice every time I come. Make sure your qi's ready for this. And then we can move you ahead so you can grow a stronger meridian system. So what was the question?
So by winning, you might want to also go on and say, you're never hurting yourself.
No, I remember asking my teacher when I was on Golden Shield, I go, well, we use a brick, do we have to bruise? And he goes, well, if you do it right, you don't bruise. He said, of course, I trained wrong every level. He was like, more mind and ambition. If you listen to your body, you don't bruise. I didn't bruise. I think maybe legs. But anyway, the point was, thank you, I remember now. There's a meridian, stomach meridian on the thigh, that when you break a tile, if you break it too soon, you'll have a bruise on each side and a little white spot where it fired from the meridian. And I know Larry was helping me demo once, and I didn't feel like breaking a tile in my life that day. So he did it, and he hadn't done it in a long time, and his white area was like this wide. And it had started out real tiny, and the qi fired all the way to here, and he just had a tiny little bruise on the side. And that, you know, he hadn't done that practice in years. So to me, that shows the development of the ability of the stomach meridian to fire, which to me means it was wider. And that's what we've been told, they do get wider. And we really developed the two major meridian systems are the Ren and the Du, or conception vessel, and I forget what governing. And these meridians we call the oceans, and we really keep dumping qi, especially on torso, into those we call oceans. So then, if you are in life and you're challenged, for example, I was driving down the road and this guy swerved to miss a deer coming at me, and somehow the back wheels of his car got caught in sand on the shoulder, and he flipped up in the air, and the next thing I know, the chassis of his car was coming at my windshield, which I got out of the way, and he's alive. He's recovering. But it was something where normally you would drop a lot of adrenaline when that happens. And I've been doing this training a lot. And I noticed when I called 911, I wasn't shaking. You know, when you're shaking, that's a sign you've dropped a lot of adrenaline. I wasn't shaking. Emotionally, I was a little concerned. So it took me a second to get 911. But normally when you drop adrenaline, you just shake. And that was a situation. I mean, this guy was, the chassis, the underside of his car was coming at my windshield. And I was seeing him. It was pretty dramatic. That happened about a year ago. So my oceans had enough energy to deal with, they weren't frightened. They weren't frightened. Because when you're frightened, it means your body's, or your eyes, or your mind is sensing, I don't have enough to deal with this. So it drops some adrenaline to give you that. Like coffee will open up the adrenals, so you have a little bit more energy to do something. So adrenaline to your body's kind of fight or flight defense to help you get through. Unfortunately, a lot of our society lives on their adrenaline anymore to just get through the day, and it's shortening their life. Eventually what happens is adrenals just get worn out. There's not a limited supply of adrenaline so much as a limited ability of the adrenal to keep pumping it out. So what we do in this training is we strengthen the kidneys, which the adrenals sit on top of. So they're the first line of defense. Plus we have the meridian system. So the adrenals stay healthier longer because they're not getting access so much. They're not getting worked so hard. So that's another advantage of the training that I've noticed personally. Any other questions? So it's a strange looking training, but it's actually a lot of fun. Once I actually had a big aversion to on two-person abdomen, you need to punch the other person's abdomen so they can fire and grow. And I had a big aversion to that. That was one of my emotionals. I didn't mind getting hit because I knew I was strong. But actually, that scared me. So that was an emotional thing that unwound in me. Now it's just fun, especially when you can see, I don't know, what did you notice today when you saw everybody training?
Yeah, it looked like fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just, and that's one of the things I can tell you right now for development and growth of your meridian system is gratitude. Gratitude opens the meridian system up. If you can get in that, think of something that makes you feel grateful and get in that space of what your body feels like, your meridians will open up. It's a way to keep them healthy. So whatever you do to create gratitude in your life is very healthy. And it's something, when we're training, we want to have that joyful feeling and gratefulness. So often I will lead a visualization before the training to kind of culture that. So if you're out jogging for your health, if you can be happy and in gratitude and in your body, not listening to music on the headphones, out of your body and the music, even though it's wonderful and nice, in your body, in gratitude, you'll get more development than if you're just kind of forcing yourself through it. Because meridians are open, the energy is flowing, health will be better.
How much time does this take?
Time?
Like a week? You're here twice a month?
Oh, I'm here twice a month. Practice ideally is 3 times a week. Practice can range anywhere from, I don't know, your practice is probably a half hour now to an hour, depending on the levels. Some of the higher levels, it can be even longer, a little bit longer. But it's totally up to you on the higher levels. You can break your practice in half of your time. So, and some people's bodies can't do 3 times a week. They might have to do 2 times a week. We really promote listening to your body, getting in your body, living from being in your body. In fact, my whole last class I attended, my teacher said, well, you know, we used to call this energy work, Qi Gong. He said, no, it's about integration and calibration. Being in your body, integrated, functioning from that wholeness, and then what are you calibrating to? On the higher levels, it's really important after you develop out this meridian system, what are you putting your attention on? Because that's what grows stronger in your life. That's why it's good you vibrate out a lot of this old subconscious stuff and start focusing on the most positive things you can do. And the training really, I find it really has helped me to be more positive, just by getting rid of some old, what do we call it? We were calling it generational misconceptions that are kind of conditioned in our physiology, our being.
So, how does that compare to regular Tai Chi with respect to the breathing and growing breath?
I've never done a regular Tai Chi. My teacher had 17 years of Tai Chi with a highly respected teacher in Chicago who could transfer Chi, blow people against the wall. In fact, he used to blow my teacher against the wall regularly. For some reason, he liked using him as the demo. And he felt this training actually grew his Chi faster and better. And so he quit doing that and switched to this and started teaching this. But I think Tai Chi is very good, and I promote that, you know, it's a good thing for moving the body, get the energy flowing. To actually growing the energy body, I don't know. I know this works. I haven't done it. And my teacher says, oh, this is great. Obviously, his master he studied with did grow his energy body, but I don't know. My teacher seemed to think he didn't know how to, or wouldn't actually teach it.
I practiced very seriously karate, aikido, tai chi for over 30 years, and I'm sure that in the first 9 months I developed more internal ki, and
Which is the Japanese way of saying chi. So I was
chi.
You can say ki.
Chi. I developed more of that and a more holistic way to use it in 9 months than I did 30 years of the other training, because they just don't concentrate on that sort of training in many martial arts, because the people aren't able to hold this energy. In this training, your body will hold that energy and it will positively affect your metabolism, your awareness in daily life. But for me also, the icing on the cake was the change in my spiritual awareness. And that came along. I was looking for physical and mental awareness, and the change in spiritual awareness, I just figured, oh, gee, that's a nice icing on the cake.
Everybody has a different reason to do it. That actually does this training. It could be for physical health or whatever you want. It seems to work fairly holographically. I won't promise it'll cure everything, but it does help. It does help quite dramatically. Go ahead.
I try to meditate 20 minutes morning and night, sometimes even more. But it's
Yes.
Christian meditation,
Yes.
Christian, which is getting to be quite popular, and I don't do well.
Well, that's
I
about.
don't do well, but I do it because I feel like I need to do it.
I think this would help because you get your mind in your body, it settles the mind down. So then, this is calibration. You're calibrating to the Christian energy. It's hard to calibrate if you're already busy. Your mind is busy and it's not in your body. We get your
My
mind.
mind is all over the place.
Right, exactly. So we get your mind in your body with the practice. It'll be easier to calibrate to the Christian thought, the Christian meditation, which is very good. That's a good thing to calibrate to.
We're supposed to think about nothing.
That's easier to said than done, but it's easier to do. I mean, when I drive here, I'll often go into nothingness as much as possible, and it's much easier now. And it's actually quite soothing. It's actually empowering. It tends to put me in synchronicity into the flow of life. It's like I'm an administrator in Fairfield for the Kaishan Institute school there. And there'll be so many things that many people I need to talk to, and I should have called, and I'm in the flow, so I don't, and the next thing I know, there they are. I just tell them. That happens to me all the time. I've needed to contact this person, and then there they are. The more you can be no mind like that, the more you go into the natural flow of what your life's supposed to be, is my experience.
Could you speak about the different levels and some of the time differences for 1, 2, 3, 4?
Okay, so the physical levels, we call them physical because they're working on a different part of the body. There's 5 physical levels: abdomen, torso, which is neck to hips, the whole thing, head. Those are considered the 3 treasures. The most development goes on in those levels because that's where your organs are, the brain and all the organs are in these areas. We also train the legs and the arms. Now these levels, you do a lot of meditative movement, and it really increases the circulation of the chi, which is great for longevity. And they're a little bit, they're nice if a person is weak. You can start on hands and legs, and it feeds energy to the body. Now, I like starting on Golden Shield because I didn't have to learn a bunch of meditative movements. I just had to tap my body, increasing. There's a few meditative. In the first class is the hardest class because there's 3 or 4 you learn, but eventually they become easy. So those are the levels. Traditionally, they would start legs, arms, and then the 3 treasures, which were abdomen, torso, head. I like to start people on Golden Shield. They get quick results. It's not too difficult. It's a good place to start. Then there's spiritual levels where we work just on the mind, clearing out the conditioning in the mind that are done mentally, some little movements maybe. Not a lot, it's more mental. And then there's a level that bridges the 2, where you learn to be between the physical and the spiritual. You're kind of on the bridge. And we call that Golden Dragon, Golden Tiger. Or White Tiger. So those are the levels. I'm doing all of them. I'm in the spiritual level now. They're just more mental. Those for me are much harder. Because it's just, it's easier for me to tap. I needed to get in my body. I was already out of it, so I got in it. So that was easier for me than now I just do the meditations or the visualizations. And they're very beautiful. They usually have to do with things in nature. And they're very healing. But it took me a number of years to get to those. It's good. I like the physical levels. These are powerful, but anyway, I like the physical levels, so I highly recommend them. Okay, so, any more questions?
When are classes?
Oh, Sundays in the afternoon. Or, depends on if you want to start, we could talk to the people who want to start. We could do afternoon or morning. Right now, the current classes are from like 12 to 4:30. So we could either put you at.
The class isn't that long, that's one right after the other.
Yeah, I taught 3 classes before I came here today. So we could either put it before or after that. I drive here on Saturday, teach on Sunday, and usually go back to Iowa on Monday. But you can always call me if you have any questions on your training, I don't mind.
So it's Sunday afternoon twice a month.
Yeah. And it's $100 a month, plus the cost of the herbs, which depends, or the tools. And on my website, I've got those prices all listed. If you go to goldenshield.org, I've got the levels, what organs and things they work on, and what the prices are. And then the nice thing about this training is, unlike exercise, when you exercise, you tend, unless you keep it up, you lose the muscle tone. The energy levels we are able to seal. We call it a sealing. So you get to a certain point, and we have a way of giving you a task. You've had many ceilings in your life. It's just when you really have to integrate and focus on a task, and then we set a signal to remember that level in your body. So we get your golden shield, like you'll see. I'll let you feel this. I finished in 99. I don't practice this level anymore. I demo maybe twice a year if I'm feeling ambitious. And that's all it gets stimulated, but it helped. The energy helped. And you'll see that quite dramatically. So it's a nice thing. It'll hold like for 20 years. Say you did torso and you were in a car accident, that memory would hold enough to protect you usually. We've had people in car accidents where their cheek fired and actually there was a bubble around them and the rest of the car was compact. And it saved their lives. It actually went over and saved the girlfriend's life too, because his cheek fired, the energy fired. Enough for that one time. Now, to take multiple impacts you can do while you're training. You would have to train 2 weeks or whatever to get back to that level. But it'll hold for, in an emergency situation. And you can always build it back up if you want. But it's there, which is nice. So, if you want to keep your muscle tone, however, you're still going to have to exercise. I've kind of been laying around a lot with this foot broken, and I can see, you have to keep that. So I have it, plus that's, but exercise happy, gratitude, not forcing yourself.
So what are you going to show us in the demo?
Well, I think I need to go to the bathroom before. I'll let you feel the chi in my abdomen. Ed can hit me with the bat. I might break a couple tiles. I don't know.
Just hit it. Start down here. Now, if you hit me in the solar plexus, I can protect that a little bit, but I can't protect that as much as down here. Harder. Harder. Twice as hard. 3 times. 4. Again. Harder. Okay, now, he's punching me. I'm not really using a lot of my stomach muscle. I'm using more of my energy to bounce that off. And some of these people here could do the same thing today if they didn't have the flu or something like that.
I'm trying to, so I'm a new student. So go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. Here, let me warm him up a little bit first. You ready? Shield up. His energy.
Medium,
Go
then
on.
keep going. Medium, and then. Got it. Harder. 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 Much harder. Much harder. Much harder. Much harder. Much harder. Full force. Full force. Full force.
It's
Yeah.
close to your solar plexus, too.
I can.
that didn't feel like your muscles.
It's not my muscles, because I'm not muscular, unfortunately.
It's really true. Okay, ready?
I'm just afraid you're going to hit the belt. I don't want you to hurt your hand.
Amazing.
It's a chi. It's a chi body. Now, yeah, stay in the middle. That's in my tendons under my arm. Okay, so maybe come more this way so you're not hitting your guts. Okay, ready?
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You can hit harder than that.
Okay.
You pulled back coming up.
Now,
Maybe I should have my husband hit me. Martial arts, and this is that firing to win is what makes you really develop quickly. And it's, you can read hundreds of books on Qigong and they won't talk about that. So I don't know if it was mainly just in this system, which was held very close because they won all the tournaments. They got disqualified, wouldn't let them participate after a while. They were from Ermey Mountain. And one of the masters could run with wings, like in the movie Crouching Tiger.
Hidden Dragon.
Hidden Dragon. And then the last master, me, was actually the bodyguard of the last emperor of China, the head bodyguard. So I had some pretty important people in this, do this training. So you can do more. It's starting to wake me up. It really, my chi tends to go deep. I'm more of an introvert, so my chi's usually in very deep. This brings me out, and that's why it's easier for me to function in the material world, because I have my chi here. It's not somewhere esoteric, or it shouldn't be right now.
okay, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You can do the stomach.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm getting tired. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bone density is pretty good.
So what's
Now,
this
yeah.
tile stuff?
What?
What's this tile stuff?
I think if
Centers in this practice. One is here, we call this the balance point. If you can keep your attention in your energy center, really helps your mind quiet down, you stay in your body. So this is a major one. There's one at solar plex, which is your transfer point. When I'm breaking or being challenged, chi will tend to rise up to the transfer point. The heart's your checking account. That's where you know, when your heart opens up, your energy comes out. People love that feeling. This, if you stay in here, it keeps it conserved. It's your savings account. And then we work with super dantian up there, which you can really waste a lot of chi if you stay in there too much. But that opens up, you know, you can have subtle vision and things like that.
You can have what?
Subtle vision. Like I see most of your auras. Yeah, your little halos. And they're different colors. And it's fun. That opens up as you do the training. Those are the 3 centers we use. But this is the one I stay in even at higher levels, because when you're in the other ones, unless you have a purpose, you're leaking. You're leaking your energy. So you want to stay in. Now, every joint has a dantian, a spinning, like sun of energy, like sun. So they're called, I thought it was calling it something, the mysterious, do you remember the mysterious something?
Mysterious wonder.
I don't know, but there's little energy centers in all your joints between the spines.
I've had some of my martial arts students, once I started training hands, I almost could not hit them because it would be too much energy for them. And now some of them, I can just let them hit me, and if they say go to a joint, it's almost like I don't feel it, and my body seems to deflect it away, and it's sort of frustrating for them now. But you know, I'll take some of the new students and tell them, hey, just kick, punch, whatever you want. And actually, I almost gain energy from them punching or kicking me, unlike 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, because they're sending their chi into your system. If you are open, you can absorb it. That's why it's good, whatever you're doing, if you've really gotten emotional, afterwards, get centered, put your attention here, and just imagine pulling your energy that's in the room back. See it wind in. It's like the size of an orange, a little ball of energy inside your body. That's a very good way not to leak so much or to pull it back. Just stay there as much as possible. It's hard to do. I mean, it's easier for me to do the more training I've had. It just becomes easier because when you're on that level of training, you are in your body when that bat's coming at you. There's nowhere else you're going to be, because if you're out here, who knows if you have enough chi to take that load. But if I'm in there, it's no problem.
Once I did hit, I was at work and I was moving some bricks or something, and I turned, and you know those cast iron railings? I turned, and I put the last brick up, and I went boom, and I hit my head against the railing. The whole dock area shook, and people came running, "Are you all right?" And I go, "No, I think I broke the railing." You know, this is going to cost us money.
But, you know, this is a side effect. What we do is to get the energy into the organs, to get your meridian system developed. So this is like the sideshow. But I don't know, at least it helps you feel that I'm not just talking. You know, I'm not just making this up.
Curious, is there a point at which you don't need to conserve energy because it's just available?
When you can calibrate to that universal energy, that would be the point. Probably the unity consciousness or God consciousness, whatever you want to call it, Christ consciousness. But you have to be able to calibrate to that. Otherwise, there's all this energy, but if you can't calibrate to it because your system's not set up or whatever, you still get old and die, you know. You just can't pull it. So it's a matter of how receptive you are. It's good to spend a lot of time in nature. It's like when the rain comes, the forest opens up, the leaves turn up, becomes receptive. So you have to be receptive. And this training I found has made me more receptive. My body calibrates easier, quicker, because it's not in its mind, its ego, or whatever, thinking. Can't calibrate when you're thinking and be receptive. You're full cup. You have to empty the cup. Go to the nothing so you can empty, so whatever can come in.
So many people in our country have high blood pressure. I don't, thank goodness. And then they die of a heart attack or a stroke. I mean, it's like an epidemic almost.
Or they die of the side effects of the medications, which I think
Now, is
kills
this,
those
if a person takes this, will they have better health that way and live longer? Or does it all depend?
It depends on how you use your energy, but it will get the organs stronger and the chi circulating. Still depends, the mind's very powerful, how you use the mind. So I give you clues and keys as much as to the best of my ability to help you so you don't go there, so you become more patient, you become more receptive. When you're in that patient, receptive stage, you don't get high blood pressure. It's when you're in that driving, and we do have some techniques. One thing that's good for high blood pressure right now, and this is a Qigong thing, is you imagine you're standing on pillows, okay? So you're walking on pillows or on clouds, and you just walk very aware backwards. And I feel my blood pressure going down right there. That's one way. Putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth and keep breathing to lower dantian also helps settle. So we have lots of techniques, if you use them, do help. It just depends. The mind is so powerful. How do you use your mind will determine that. But I do give techniques. If you can use them, it'll help. It's a Mexican cave, or it's unglazed. So I like to get the feel of the matrix of the tile. But I don't like to have my glasses. And there's certain sounds that help energy travel certain directions. So I'm going to say he helps the energy travel up.
Three.